I don't know, Corey. Why don't you take it out the parking lot?
Okay, y'all, we gotta get this. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone. I call this meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. We'll start with roll calling beginning to my right.
Miller here.
Thatcher here.
Morris here.
Parrish here.
Hollowell here.
Let the records reflect that a quorum of council is present. So let's just go into the public comments. Number 3. Do we have anyone public comments? No? Okay, so since we have no public comments, let's go to number 4, the consent items. 4.1, consider the 2022-2023 Franklin County interlock agreement for ad valorem tax collection.
Madam Mayor, since this is our interlocal agreement for our tax collection, I move the council approve 2022-2023 Franklin County interlocal agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, with no further discussion, all that approve?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So next, let's go to number 5.1, general discussion on fiscal year 2022-2023 budget and tax rate.
It's all you, Mackenzie.
Well, I believe, do you want to go first, or would you like?
It doesn't matter.
Would you like to go first?
Not really, but
What?
I will if you ask. So there was just one of the lines, and I was kind of confused about it until talking to Mackenzie to do with farmers market. The way I always understood our revenue that comes into the market from vendor fees and from our fundraising, selling t-shirts and things of that nature, is that went into a restricted fund that actually could only be spent towards the farmers market. That's how I understood it, so then that's how my vendors understood it and customers understood it. And so that's apparently not the case. It's been, just in one that goes into the general fund. And so I would like to ask that become a restricted fund where those funds can be utilized. It is not a lot of money to the city budget. It is a lot of money to us as the farmers market. We could do some needed improvements, as y'all know, out there. Certainly not go as far as what we needed to, but we've been saving up to stay up to our big next stream out there. Things like that are completely out of reach with just what we have on a yearly basis. We have to kind of keep sitting on that and letting that build, and that's what we thought we were doing, but that's not the case. So we're going to kind of correct that or make that so in this budget if that's possible.
Okay, you said the t-shirts and
This is, you can probably tell how much number this, it's a revenue account, it's a revenue fund. I don't know that we call that an account.
It's 172, and y'all won't see that in your budget because it's one of those funds that's not really a budget. It's just a fund. And so what Stacy's asking, the way that it's set up in the system is that it does keep track of what goes in there, but the way that governmental accounting works is everything is general fund. And so unless you all choose to restrict the revenues received by farmers market, technically it's general fund. And so what she's asking is for you all at some point to make a motion to actually restrict the revenues for expenditures of farmers market only.
So that means that amount would be guaranteed strictly for that,
That's correct.
instead of just guessing how much is available.
I mean, I can tell you what's there, but because it's in a consolidated account, I have to start with the bank balance and then reduce that by all of the, I think we have 24 funds to actually figure out a true fund balance.
And where do the revenues come from?
That's all the farmers, but the vendor fees that they pay either seasonal or some of them do per Saturday, depending on what they have.
T-shirt sales,
And then we
stickers.
do, just random fundraising. Only the last couple of years, that's why it's increased so much, did we start doing fundraising items. And again, with the thought of, okay, this will help us get here. This will help us to spend on the needs in that lot. And so that's just kind of what we want to, that was again, what we were under the impression that that's how that was already working.
Do we have any idea how much has already been raised in the last year?
I can run a fund balance on it right now, and what's been tracked into that is in the a little over 17,000.
Okay, that's all I needed, ballpark. Is that about what, are you keeping
Yes.
two?
Yes, I have all the
No.
deposit records.
The local government code restricts what we can consider a restricted fund. Restricted funds are defined by law. Can we, as a local government, override that and restrict our own funds?
You all can take formal action to restrict those funds. It's not going to show up in an audit under local government purposes as a restricted fund. It would be by council action only. And that would honestly just be something similar to our ordinances that would require local enforcement. The auditors aren't going to enforce.
So the auditors would still see it as general fund,
That's correct.
but that revenue would it carry year to year as it increased, or would it be a yearly thing?
If you all, the action to restrict it should carry from year
No,
to
I'm
year.
talking about the balance of that fund.
It should carry over from year to year if you all choose to restrict it.
Okay. Now, to match that fund, do we have to have that as a budget item to spend? Or can we just spend that fund as needed?
I would think that it would need to be a budget item, which means in my, maybe, the way I've seen it done in some of the others is a transfer in, which I don't necessarily love, but I'm trying to find a way that makes more sense. But I do think that it would need to be budgeted as an expenditure. Typically with restricted funds, the way that it works is it's not budgeted, and that particular, whoever's overseeing that as the contractor, everything that's spent, they have to come and ask approval for every single thing, unless council tells me, I want it in a budget line item for this amount. So Stacy knows that she needs fans and they're gonna be $5,000, then we can go ahead and put that in the budget. And then if she needs anything over that, every penny spent after that would require formal action from the council in order to be expended.
But you're talking about like improvements at the buildings, the lots, capital improvements basically for the vendors.
Yes, that's been the goal, and that's why, again, we sit on it, because if there's a, Sam, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, or more like 15,000 for what we want, that's quiet, that it's not gonna blow people's goods around, things like that. And so we don't generate enough in a year off of that to do much of anything out there, That's why we see that kind of as separate money that, again, we've always been told that was accumulating. And that we could then, put that in a budget, like we said, when we had a price for, okay, this is what we want next out there, and we could put that in the budget and go ahead and spend that and hire that type of thing out. So we really need it to roll year to year. We're looking at, and it has increased substantially, because our vendor fees have gone up, and we're doing the fundraising. Used to, it's a couple $1,000s a year at most, and now we're like $7-ish a year. So again, it's not big money to everybody, but it's pretty big money out there when you're looking at really expensive fans. So yeah, that's kind of the idea.
So is that something we need to decide tonight or in final discussion with the final budget? Because this item just says discussion, it doesn't say any action.
I think that we would be able, maybe at the regular meeting on September 13th, we can create a line item that says consider and take action on Fund 172 to restrict for purposes of
Farmers market.
Yes, sir.
If we were to do this, then what mechanism would govern how money was spent?
The mechanism is technically already in place as far as tracking it in the software. And then it would be a purchasing policy, so it's prudent upon whoever's in finance. When a request for funds come out, one of the things we always ask is where do you want to take it from? So if Stacy were to make a request and tells Holly, I want it from Fund 172, that should automatically trigger her to go, oh, we have to get council approval for that, unless it was already budgeted in a budget line item.
And that would be council approval too, so
That's correct.
council's the short answer.
It can be done a couple of ways, but yeah, the council is the mechanism for that.
So this would be like creating a separate bank account for that amount, for that money?
You could do it that way.
Oh, but that's not necessarily.
We have one account right now that every single penny the city gets goes in one account. And then it's tracked and managed through these funds that we have, which is a lot of the in and out transfers that you all see throughout the budget.
So my next question is, are you wanting to get the fans in the next budget year?
Well, now there's not that money there. That's the way that I understand it, that we thought that was there all along. And so now we don't have that to spend. It's more the idea of we need that we weren't probably quite there for what we're looking at, for, again, the ones that we think make sense out there. So,
Then you want to purchase one as soon as you can afford it.
yes, yeah.
So I have two quick questions. The fundraising, if that goes into the restricted fund, those funds coming in go into the restricted funds, where does it come out as an expenditure to buy the T-shirts, for instance?
Out of the farmer's market budget, the 102, I think.
Yeah,
Is where it
okay,
comes out.
okay.
And just to clarify the comment that Stacy made about the money not being there, what I've said on that is I will not know, we've not had a finance director for a while, and so we're still playing a little bit of catch up. So I actually can't answer that question on any of I can't give anyone an accurate fund balance on what's actually there until we finish our audit. And so I'm unable to answer that question right now as to what that actual dollar amount is until we can back into that fund balance.
Could those restricted funds be used, for instance, to build handicap ramps?
Sure, can be used for anything for farmer's market.
And, as far as our board and what we prioritize, it's what's affordable. The ramps are, what has to be done for those is a giant amount of money. That I just look at grants for because it's not something we can ever do with our own.
That's what I was
It would
gonna
take,
say.
20 years or so selling t-shirts to afford that, so.
I think anything that you're doing to make something ADA compliant, you can find a grant for. And that's probably the best way to go and not spend other money. But you could.
I think on that, let's figure out how much they have. Just put on the 13th agenda to set that up and formalize it
Okay.
so that Stacy has some money to work with.
Would you guys like to keep that in a fund as it is right now, or would your preference be to put it in its own separate checking account? I'll need to know how to word it in the budget, because we'll need resolutions and things if you wanted a checking account. You just want it in a
I
fund.
would just keep it
and-
in the fund and keep it in the pooled cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how does it work when, during the winter time, we have the farmer's market where people can order whatever they want online? Thank you. Online ordering. How does that work where,
Doesn't generate any revenue for us. It's more of a service. It's, of course, it's a service to the vendors, but to the customers too. We are just kind of the liaison over that. There's no, every cent that comes through it in orders goes right back to the vendors.
so does it go into a separate account, come into you and go into a separate
Yeah.
account or a bank, and then you pay the vendors? How does,
Now,
explain to me how that
literally
works.
comes to what has been just that online market manager that I'll go back to doing most likely this season, and that immediately goes, straight out to the vendors. It's just, it's between the couple of us that oversee the website and all that, because there's even that, you've got all those fees attached. If they do the paying online, that would be a lot easier for us, but that costs more, and it would end up, we have to transfer that cost to the vendors. So it's literally, they pay as they pick up. That is then, like say it's a check, that's cashed and it's paid out the next week. That gives time to kind of process those and bidding them up to the specific vendors. Again, it's complicated because you're not paying one person. So it's all these multiple vendors that have the listings on there.
I know there are some markets, what they do is they'll do the online payment, all that great stuff, but you can charge a percentage on top of their order.
Right.
And
Right.
as a service charge. Yeah. But that would, if your credit card rate is 2.8% and you charge 4%, that would give you money to go back into your coffers too.
Right, yeah. And an idea we're looking at, we're already looking at another platform. The bad thing about these, again, because they're different from any other sales type of sites, because you've got these multiple, sellers. They're really in the dark ages. They're just not very advanced, the sites, the platforms that you can use. And you pay for each one of them, so we're already tacking those fees, onto customers. They're just that, and they're small, because again, they're not processing payments, but they've all got flaws. We've tried, this is our third one, I think, that we started up this last year, and we're already going, maybe we should keep shopping. not a perfect system by any means. We're still playing with it.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on 5.1. I think everybody's had multiple chances to review the budget, or the new budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Mackenzie's going to give us some input, right?
So the email that I sent, I don't know if anyone has access to it. Mine is not pulling up right now. It's a budget draft 2 where I went through and I summarized all of the major changes that have kind of happened since that draft 2. That's primarily what I just need clarification on from council tonight, other than just moving into executive session to allow the department heads an opportunity to speak regarding their personnel.
That's the email that you sent yesterday?
I believe so.
I just sent you a screenshot of it, Mackenzie. If you need a quick reference.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I'm
So,
curious about, go ahead. Are you going to start with EDC or?
I was going to talk about EDC first. They had originally approved the budget, and then they met again, and then decided to make some other changes. And so I just need clarification from council on what direction you want to go with their recommendations.
They had already approved it and then wanted to change it more?
It was a decrease, but yes, sir, there was some conversation about the line 3990, which is contract services. We had budgeted to increase that fairly substantially in order to do a Christmas tree lighting ceremony for the city this year, and to replace all of the angels. If I understand correctly, the lit angels are a big thing here for the city, and it's something that the citizens enjoy seeing and really have an expectation to see that continue. And so we wanted to add to that a commercial grade 20-foot Christmas tree that we could do a lighting ceremony for. We could do a market night, have vendors come in and find the elf, and just have a whole event centered around the Christmas tree lighting. We like to coordinate it with the Christmas parade that happens around that time, and just do a whole evening of that sort of event. So WEDC originally was okay with it, then after discussions, I don't know, I think they may have had more board members that time, and so the discussions, I think, went a little bit deeper. They had made the decision at their last meeting to not do the Christmas tree, so they reduced the budget for that line by the cost of the Christmas tree, which was about $20,000. And then they wanted to add that savings back into a line item for special projects and prospect incentives. So it would just allow them more money to recruit other businesses.
And then there was a change also on 3239, changing it from 32,650 to 32,900.
There was a calculation error. And so there will be a change to that line item also to make them consistent.
3239.
Page is it?
That's the email she sent yesterday.
The other line item change, as Ms. Jones said, will be 950, 100, 3239. And it would go from 32,650 to 32,900. And that's just the difference in the software, how it captures the information on one fund from the other. They didn't match, so we need to make those match. So it's just kind of a cleanup.
But the budget does balance.
Yes, yes.
Yay.
All budgets and all funds balance.
You saw this.
preparation of draft 3 of the budget. If you all are going to be in support of the recommended changes by EDC, or just, I need some guidance on how to plug those numbers in for that draft 3.
I have no problem with the EDC.
So do you want action just on EDC and not discuss the rest of your?
If we could do EDC first, we don't have to have action. If you guys can just collectively tell me, the formal action will be taken on the 16th, but if you guys can just tell me collectively what you would like to see in that draft 3 with regard to that, I can make notes, make those changes and send you all the new draft 3.
I'd like to see the changes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. The rest of the items that are up for discussion are personnel related, and so it would be my recommendation for you all to consider moving into executive session for those discussions.
Okay, so at this time, 5:52 p.m., we will move into executive session. So if we could please clear the council room.
I was going to ask a question because it also talks about tax rate. I guess it's okay.
I think that's, we have to get that before we get that.
Right? Hand me that and I'll show it to him. So, have you seen it? Randy, did you see this one? This one? Did you?
You can't leave.